Hi, we're going to do some dolly crochet today, and it is going to be for Sindy. I have both my new Sindy here and I've also got a vintage Sindy here, so we can have a quick look at how the item fits. And as you've already seen on the thumbnail, the item is a little pair of slippers. Now she's only got one on here. I don't know whether you can see that very well. She's a little tiny weeny slipper. You'll see obviously on the thumbnail properly. That's the thing, when it's something tiny it's hard to see, but when we go top down as well you'll be able to see it. I've taken one off, so we'll see if we can see it that way. I'm trying to hold it on the back. Can you see we've got a little tiny weeny slipper? They are so quick to make as long as you're happy with 4-ply yarn. That is the only thing some people I know don't like using it, and I am using a smaller, much smaller hook than I would normally use here, but I'll pop that all in the comments and descriptions and things like that, so if you're not sure. But the thing is, if you're wanting to make this for a bigger doll, you could actually use a thicker yarn and a larger hook. So I will talk about how you can adjust it for different size dolls, so that is something to look at. Now, the inspiration for these slippers, I've been making the slippers, and I did a lot for DollyCon, and I still do them, and they're still going on my site and people order them and things like that. So it is something that I really enjoy making. That was one part of the inspiration. The other was some gorgeous yarn I bought off Etsy. Now again, you're not going to be able to see it properly. There's some, and there's more in my little yarn bowl, and I will be showing you those as well. So I'll put the link in for the person I bought them from, and we can have a look at the quality of it, see what it's like. It is gorgeous already, but I decided to I rolled up a mini skein that I got from this person, and that is what I've done the slippers in, so I can show you the yarn and how it actually sort of crochets up. So don't forget, I am in UK terms. I know for some people that has thrown them a couple of times thinking I've done the wrong stitch, but yes, over here we have one form of terms, and in other places, other countries, there's other terms. So it might be a good idea to pop on Google, get a conversion chart, or if you've got a crochet book, it's probably got them in. So I just like to re-mention that each time, because I know myself, when I first started crocheting, I was using books at that point. It was pre-YouTube, and I'd got some patterns and things, and I was doing them wrong because I wasn't using the UK terms. So I had to then translate it, and that's why I can work in both now. But it is UK here whenever I'm doing it, and whenever I print my patterns up as well, they are all UK terms, so don't forget, because I don't want you going wrong with it. So I'm going to see you in a second. Top down, we can look at this gorgeous, gorgeous wool, and we're going to have a look at my little Sindys, make the slippers, and see how we can adjust them for different size dolls. It is so simple. I will see you in a second. So let's get on with these slippers. As you can see, I have the two Sindys here, and I'm hoping you can see this a little bit better now. Can you see a little tiny weeny slipper there? Now, I popped a fluffy edge on them. It doesn't have to have a fluffy edge. We will again discuss that as we go along. This is the fluff that I used. I'll pop a link in for all the yarns, so don't worry about that. Now, the hook size, I say, might put some people off here. Depends on whether you don't mind using a smaller hook. It is a 1.75 millimeter. Love these steel hooks. They're so much nicer to use. If you've not used one before, have a go. Seriously, if you're a bit nervous about reducing the size of your hooks, don't. Just have a go. And I actually think these work better than the bigger ones. Again, each to his own. But have a go. If you've not done it, have a go. So, as I've said, I have a new Sindy and I have a vintage Sindy here. So we will be trying the slippers on, which we will do later. But I did say I'd mentioned the yarn. Now, this is the yarn. Obviously, this is just a standard one that I bought. But in here are the yarn goodies that inspired me to go for this colour scheme. Now, this is the ball that I actually rolled up. I mean, just look at the colours on that. I really do hope the light shows the colours properly. Now, I have the name of this one. This one is a Coral Reef, and it is Merino and nylon, and this is who it is from. This isn't a very good picture. There's another one in there. So it's from Fairy Realms Yarns, and this is the mini skein. So that was one mini skein I bought. And then I got this one. I hope you can see. Can you see the glittering in there? Can you see that shimmer? It is absolutely gorgeous. Not decided what I want to do with this. Been thinking sort of doll cardigan, something like that. And this one is called Opal, which I think is absolutely gorgeous. And it's got the stellina in there to give us that little shimmer. And then I did buy a larger skein as well, because if I'm making something for the smart doll, These are okay for accessories for a smart doll, but they're no good if you wanted to make a jumper or a dress or something like that. So I went with this one. Now this one, have we got a name for it? We have Birds of Paradise. And again, the yarn is just so squishy and nice. And I've got to roll it up, that's the only thing. But one downside of artisan yarns is rolling them up. But I absolutely love them. I do get the artisan yarns quite often from a couple of different places on Etsy, and they are hand dyed, and you know, they are from small businesses, and I do like to support them like that. So that's that one. And then I got a couple of little, that's just the card. You see the business card? I will actually print those details down below, but this is the person that I actually got them from if you're wanting to pause it and have a look at that. A little message on the back just saying thank you, which is lovely. And what, something did fall off it actually. I have a little marker. Now this is more of a knitter's marker, fair enough, because they sort of slide it onto their I can't think of the word, needle. How can I not think of the word? I don't know. But yeah, so I don't know. I've not decided what I'm going to do with it. It makes a really cute little charm. It'll probably end up maybe as a doll necklace for the larger dolls, something like that. So that is lovely. So I'm just going to pop that back in my bowl. Do you like my bowl, by the way? Oh, I got this cutie from that strange shop that I can never remember. Is it Flying Tiger? I got it wrong last time, but yes, that was rather cute. And then obviously I have another stitch marker which I actually purchased from her, and we've got another one of those. In fact, I've got two, haven't I? So I could convert them into smart doll earrings. They'd be quite nice, wouldn't they? Yes, that's definitely what that's going to be. And then yes, I got this stitch marker, and I just loved sort of like the enamel effect. And again, that mermaid-esque feel. And again, just on a little card. So I will pop her details in if you would like to have a look at her yarns. They are lovely. I've actually ordered the, is it Christmas Countdown? I think it's the Christmas Countdown one. So I can't wait to see that. I've also just ordered the Christmas Eve treat one from Attic Spin Dye as well. So I'm really excited about that one because I had that last year. Absolutely loved it. So we've got little bits of ribbon and all sorts all over the place. So in fact, I don't know why I've put them in there, because I am actually going to use my bowl for once, because when you do roll them into little balls like this, it runs all over the table. So I find it doesn't stay in that bit. I'm not quite sure what I'm doing wrong there. Perhaps it's the positioning, but as long as it holds it, it's not going to roll off the table. Now, as I mentioned, it is a 4-ply yarn, but it's a 4-ply sock yarn. So watch that, because there's so many different yarns out there. And then, you know, you could have 10 different yarns, so they're 4-ply, and they'll all have slightly different thicknesses. Same with any yarn. Double knit yarn is exactly the same as that. So it is something to watch out for. So you might need to experiment a little bit. So as you can see, our Sindy has her little slipper on here. She's really cute and it is fluffy. What I've actually done though is I've got some pre-prepared, so you don't have to add the fluff, just to show you that they don't have to be fluffy. So let's slide this one on. I would want an edge on this one if I wasn't going to fluffy it, but you can see sort of the basic shape of the little slipper there. So you could add other details if you wanted to put maybe a base on it, you know, so it sort of looks more like a solid slipper rather than a slipper sock type thing. So there are a couple of different options there. So we will move her out of the way. I will try it on the vintage Sindy as well in a moment, because they've got slightly more rubbery feet than the new one, so there is a slight fit difference. Obviously I have my needles, I have my little scissors, my hook, my wool. We're ready to go. So I'm just going to be making one slipper today. Obviously you will want to. So we're going to start with our slip knot onto our hook. Not too tight. Let's say as soon as you use these steel hooks, you won't want to go back. I wish they made the larger hooks in the steel, because they're just so much nicer to use. We're going to start with 2 chains. It starts a little bit amigurumi-esque. So this is how I start my amigurumi. I hope this is going to be clear enough. Shall I move it up a little bit? Does that feel okay? Can you see that well? I think so. Into that first chain, we're going to do 6 double crochets. Remember UK turn 1, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. We can just pull that up to sort of make it our little circle. So you can see you've got your little circle here. We are now going to do 2 double crochets into each of those 6. Again, just like you would with an amigurumi pattern. So it is in the spiral at this point. So if you're not sure which is the first one, count from the back. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. It is there. And I said, because they're steel hooks, they do go through nice and smooth. So we need 2 in each of those 6. So that's 2 in our first one, 2 in our second one. I'm trying to keep it at sort of, it's weird because my camera's on a stand and the stand goes right across the middle of my camera, so if I put it there I can't actually see it, so that's why I think I have a tendency to pull it over there. I will try and keep it there. So we've got 2, didn't we? So this is 2 in our third one, 2 in number 4. Oh, it's about to change the colour as well. Love it when it changes colour. Number 5. And I was talking, so I don't know that I've missed one. I don't think so. And number 6. Always best to sort of check your counting when you've done that. So if I count from the back, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 and 12. I was okay. I'm just going to tighten up the hole. Again, when you're pulling this sort of yarn to tighten the hole, be careful, just in case it snaps. You should do that with any yarn, because the amount of times I've done that and then it's gone and snapped right here and I've got to start again. So be careful when you are pulling that. So we do now need some just plain double crochet rounds, and we're going to have 3 of them. So you're going to count to your 12 3 times. I'm not popping a stitch marker in for something that size. We will just count the 12. So we have 1, 2, oh, pretty green, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Oh, love this green. 11 and 12 is why I love variegated yarn. So that's our first round. I'm just tightening that again. I'm inclined to do that out of habit a few times. You see it's curling up, so I'm just going to pop it over my little finger so it sort of uncurls it. So that was our first round of 12. We've got 2 more rounds to go. So off we go, counting 12. Well, we will if I don't miss the stitch. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Oh no, that will be 10. There we go. That's 10. 11 and 12. Again, it's curling again, so just push it out. You need to make sure we have right side facing there. So we have 1 more round of 12. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, nearly there, 10, and 2 more, 11 and 12. And I'm going to stop just for a second, and I want to sort of show you. In fact, we'll bring vintage in here. So what I'm saying is this goes over the toe, so you need to check your sizes. So you can see that sits comfortably over that top part of the toe. If you find your tension's a little bit loose, this might be a little bit loose, so you might need to experiment. That's the only problem. It's easy to say to someone, this is a pattern, this is what I've done, but everybody's different. So sometimes, particularly with the doll crochet, you might need to alter things. So, but that's okay there. Now we're going to move on from rounds to rows now, because we need to go up. Let me get one of the others. We need to go up this side here, and this little bit here is where you would alter it depending on the size or the length of the foot. I find most fashion dolls, the width we've just done will fit, but some of them do have longer feet, and that is where you would have to either add, or if they've got shorter feet, or you would have to subtract. So we're going to go on to our rows now, and the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to do 1 chain, and I'm going to turn my work, and I'm going to be working along here. but I'm only going to do eight stitches, 8 double crochets. So I'm going to go directly below where the chain was first. So that's our first one. 1, 2, 3. Oh, nearly split it. 4, 5. You sort of have to shuffle it around for those last couple. 5, 6, 7 and 8. So now we're going to work in rows. I like to do my chain before I turn. I think it's neater, but I know a lot of patterns will say 1 chain after you've turned your work, but I like to do it before. So I'm going to do my 1 chain and I'm going to turn. So you can see we have this little row here that I am going to work across, and I'm going to do again 8 double crochets. So I'm going to have 1, 2, 3. I think I split that one, be careful. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8. So I'm actually going to do 1 more round. I'm saying round now. It's a problem. You go from row to round, row to fit this size. So I'm going to do a chain, then I'm going to turn. I'm just going to have 1 more row of 8. Well, I will again if I don't split it. The thing is, sometimes because I'm crocheting at a sort of slightly strange angle because I have to do it under the camera, I do sometimes miss things. So I've got 1, 2, because I've got my arms further out than I normally would. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8. Right, so I had a row where I just set out the 8 stitches, and then I've had 2 rows of just 8, 1 stitch in each. So you can see it's sort of that sort of shape. Yeah, you see how it's sort of forming. Now again, this is where perhaps try it on your doll and see the distance. Now, because I know I've made them for these. I know, let me take that hook out to show you. I know that's about okay. Can you see it's just sort of fitting to the end of a heel there, and I know that will be okay for this particular doll. But again, if you've got a longer one, maybe add an extra row in. If you've got a short foot, take one of those rows out. But I will be saying this is for a Sindy size 1. That is why I'm doing it. Barbie's almost exactly the same, so you can get away with it for those as well. You don't need to do much judging. We do have 2 more rounds. I'm at it again, aren't I? 2 more rows to go, and that will be it. That is how quick these are. So I'm going to take it off her foot, put my hook back in, back to where I was, so make sure I'm in that position that I wanted to, because as I say, I like to do my chain before I turn my work. So I'm going to do my chain, I'm going to turn my work, and we're going to have a very tiny increase. It just creates, you can't really sort of appreciate it from there, but it just creates a little slope up there. So I'm going to do 1 double crochet in the base like I normally would, but then I'm going to do another one in there as well. So that's my increase, okay? And I'm going to go all the way across to the next to last stitch, because I don't like increasing on the last one, because I do think it can again look messy, and when you have to pick it up, if you're doing that, it does sort of make it awkward. Right, so I have a couple of stitches left, so the next to the last one I'm going to do my increase, so basically just 2 double crochets into that stitch. There we go, and then 1 in the last one. Just keeps it a bit neater. I'm going to do my chain, and I'm going to turn my work, and I'm going to do my very last row. Just 1 double crochet. I mean, you've got 10 stitches now if you're wanting to count, but it's just 1 double crochet into each of those stitches. I just think the pastels of this yarn is just so pretty. So pretty. Feels nice on the hands as well. You know, some yarns don't feel nice when they go through your hands, but these do. They feel lovely. And there we go. And that's it. I'm going to fasten that off. The sewing up is something we need to look at, but we'll do that in a second. So I'll just fasten that off for now. So I'm going to turn this inside out now, because I want to do a little bit of sewing up. So I've turned it inside out, and we need to get rid of this one first, but we're not going to be just cutting it. Where have I put my needles? There. Thing is with 4 ply as well, you do need a sharp needle because you can't use a chunky wool needle. It really won't help. Even these are a little bit thick really. So I'm just going to push this through a few times because I don't want that little hole appearing at the end, and if you don't fasten it off properly, that will happen. It can come open and then the whole of your work is ruined. You could darn it together, I suppose, but you know, if you can avoid doing an extra job. I've got some hand cream on my hands as well, and it's really not helping with the needle. It's slipping. Right, so I've gone through a few times. You do it as much as you normally do, however it feels good for yourself. So that's that bit done. I'm not turning it right side out yet because I need to sew up this back. Now, those of you who've done the Smart Doll slippers, you will see they're very similar. Just a tiny version really, isn't it? So from here, I'm just going to pick up both sides, both parts of the stitch, and just one more, and I'm going to fasten that one off nice and tight, and then I need to run the yarn through a little bit because I don't want anything coming undone at any point, do I? And then take it back down. I think sometimes I overdo this, but I'm always worried about things coming undone. So I've done that like that. Pop that bit of spare yarn there. So we have a slipper. Wrong way round at the moment, of course. So let's turn it round. And there we have our tiny little slipper. So let's double check on my fit for my Sindy. Yep, I think that is comfortable. I think that looks okay on her. See the top view as well. And then if I take my new girl, because as you can see, their feet, they're similar, but I think the vintage ones are a little bit sort of chunkier, and because they're a more rubbery effect, they sit differently. And let's have a look. There we go. And that fits there. If it's a little bit loose at this point, don't worry too much, because when you actually crochet around the top, it tightens it together. And if it's a little bit too tight, don't worry, because it's yarn, it stretches. So you can actually get away with a little bit like that as well. So as I mentioned, I then use this fluff. Now I'm going to do one with fluff and one without fluff. One's going to just have a normal wool edge. So just get your wool ready as normal. I've turned it right way round now, and I'm going to start at the back. So I'm just going to pick up a stitch. I'll just sort of push my hook through. The other thing about these steel ones, they're a bit sharper, so they go through great. And I'm going to pick up a stitch. You're not really going to be able to see the detail much while I'm doing this. This is why I will do it with normal yarn as well. I just wanted to show you roughly what I did. So I'm going to actually crochet this in as well while I'm at it. So I'm holding it across my fingers. So I go in, pull my yarn through, and double crochet. That's all I'm going to do. In, pull it through, double crochet, in, pull it through, double crochet. And you're going to do that all the way around and just fasten it off as normal. I'm now going to do it, pull a bit of that yarn off so I can finish it later. I'm going to do it with a normal yarn now so you can actually see what the stitching is about. So this is why I've got a couple of other little slippers here. So I'll get this one. Got my yarn still running through my ball here. So as I mentioned, I just pick up roughly at the back, because you don't have to have the fluffy bit. You can just leave them as little plain sort of slippers to pull on. So here we go. So that's a start. And again, I'm going to try and crochet that in as we go. So I'm going to do a double crochet now into that stitch as well. And we're going to double crochet. Don't pick up the wrong side like I nearly did there. Right, we're going to double crochet into each of the stitches. It just neatens the edge as well. So if you're doing it without fluff, it's a nice way of neatening it off. Maybe you could add a little flower on it afterwards, or some little beads on it like I did with the Smart Doll ones. That did look really quite cute when I did that. I'm just crocheting that piece of yarn as I go. I hope it's not getting in the way of you seeing what I'm doing. So we're nearly round. I know I'm going to do some little plain ones, and I've got some really tiny, I've dropped a stitch there, I've got some really tiny pearls, and I'm going to pop them around the edge, stitch them on as well, because I think that would look quite cute. Couple more stitches. It's harder to get in the stitch where you've sewn it up, but you do need to persevere, otherwise it'll look lopsided. So I can get that one out the way, and I just need to slip stitch where I started. And there we go. I've gone round. So as you can see, I've got fluff all over my scissors. It doesn't take long to do. So we'll fasten that off, and then we'll have a little look at the sizing again. So you can see it just neatens it. You can see how we've got sort of a neater edge. So I think it just finishes it off. I mean, if you compare, I think it looks nicer with that little edge. Again, up to you when you get to that point. But it does slightly tighten it as well by doing that. So look, we've got a nice fit now. So again, maybe a little flower, or you could put a little bow. And then pop it on this girl as well. I say, because she's got the rubbery feet that goes on differently. I think it does actually fit the vintage ones slightly better, which is what I originally made them for. So, you know, if you do have to reduce the rows, and it is where you get those 2 rows, you might either need to put one on if it's for a larger foot, or take one off, so it makes it even quicker if you do that, doesn't it? So that is it. That is our little tiny baby slippers, and I think they're really cute, and I'm really pleased with how they turned out. So I hope you're going to have a go at making them. If you've got any queries, just let me know. I'm going to try and take a photo of them now, which is the hard bit. But I will definitely pop all the links in for all the yarns and everything like that. And that is basically it. If you enjoy my channel, if you enjoy the items I make, please like, subscribe and share. And please pop a comment. I love to see comments. I will try and answer everybody's comments. I do try and do that desperately. Although sometimes YouTube tells me there's a comment and then it's not there, so I can't answer it. So if that ever happens, I do apologise, but I do try and make sure. I'm just looking to one side here on my table because I've got all sorts on my table. Look, I've got a little flower there, a little rose. You could sort of maybe pop something like that on the top of the slipper. So if I flatten it down, that'd look quite cute, wouldn't it, actually? Might think about that one. Right, so that's it for today. I've got some other videos for you this week. I've got my little crochet pumpkin. I'll give you a little sneak peek. Little crochet pumpkin. Oh, no, I'm dropping him. And he's got a Ferrero Rocher in him. And I've got a dolly video as well. So I'll see you all very soon. And thank you so much for watching. And bye-bye for now.